Okay, so we just did our U now. And I'm going to start a new page of notes for geometry. I'm going to give you a new definition today. Geometry, Unit 2. New now was page 1 of our notes. This is page 2. Page 50. The title of our notes we're going to be talking about today is congruent triangles. So that's CONGRUENT, congruent triangles. So we're going to talk about a few different types of congruence whenever we finish here. But basically what it means for two triangles to be congruent to each other means that they have all the same angles and all the same side lengths in the same order and orientation. So congruent triangles exactly the same. Angle measures, and side lengths. We're going to talk about a few different types of congruent triangles because we're going to learn about how to write what we call a proof. So there's a few different types of congruence that we can use to prove that angles are the same and triangles have the same side length, angle, all of that. And the first one is called S, S, S. And that stands for side, side, side. Side, side, side. We're going to draw a picture. So let me know first for this one. Oh, if I have a triangle here, I'm going to try to draw two small triangles, and I'm going to make them no bigger than 2 inches on each side. I'm doing about 1.5 inches, if I have to guess. I'm going to try to draw a triangle that looks identical to it. It won't be perfect, but we're going to do our best here. Before we do all the markings. Okay. So whenever each corresponding side is marked with the same number of tick marks, that means that they are congruent, they're equal to each other. So I'm going to put one tick mark here on both of these. Then I'll do 2 on the next side. Then I'll do 3 on the bottom. So if all 3 pairs of corresponding sides are congruent, then the triangles are congruent. That's what we can take away from this statement here. So we'll say if all 3 corresponding sides, we're going to write the congruent symbol instead of the word congruent. It's just an equal sign with a squiggly on top of it. So if all 3 corresponding sides are congruent, then the triangles are congruent. And these are the same. We know that's true because if all 3 sides are the exact same measure, then the angles that they create whenever they meet each other at each vertex, they're going to have to be the same angle. The only way these triangles would be different is if one of the sides was a different length. So these are the exact same triangle. Let's look at the next type. I'm going to go separate these. Next type of congruence, we name it as SAS. That one is side angle side. We've drawn a lot of triangles on this page. I'm going to draw 2 more triangles here. I'm going to make these look a little different for some variety. One here for both of them. Gonna have side. Okay, and then one more. And then the bottom. So to show that we have side angle side congruence, we have to have one side and then an angle and then another side. The angle has to be in the middle. It's got to be the same on the other triangle. Now, the reason that these are gonna be congruent, no matter what, there's no exception, is that if this angle in the middle is the same on both triangles, and these lengths are also the same, then that third side has to be the same. There's no way that it will be a different length. The only way that we wouldn't have the same length for these sides is if one of these lengths was longer or shorter, or if the angle was different. These have to be congruent. They're the same if we know side angle side are the same. So to explain that, let's describe that. So on the last one, I said if all three corresponding sides are congruent, I'm gonna say if two sides with an angle in between, two sides angle in between congruent, and the triangles are congruent. One more time here. Shift that up a little. Other one is A S A. What do you think that's gonna stand for?
Angle, side angle.
Yes, angle, side, angle. Perfect, perfect. So this one's gonna be exactly like the last one, except for instead of the angle being in the middle, it's gonna be a congruent side in the middle of two angles. So I'm gonna draw two more triangles. Let's start with this. Yes. Okay.
You'll call for my baby. Oh, I gotta call her.
Okay. So I'm gonna just make one like this. I'm gonna try to copy that as much as I can to the next one. So for this one, we'll have angle congruent,
Larry.
and we'll have another angle that's congruent. And then there will be congruent side in between those two angles. Now, so y'all can see that. So to describe this one, it's exactly like the last one, we're just switching the words. If two angles with a side in between. Two angles. Then the triangles. Show you how we'll use this in context. Give you guys a minute to skip that. Copy down, pause this while we're doing this. We're moving to this shape. And I'm going to show you how we can prove side congruence here. So first, let's label all of our different points here. And we're going to use J, K, L, and M. So whenever we're trying to prove that two triangles are congruent, usually you're given a piece of information. So I'm going to tell you what is being given to you. So we are given that JM is congruent to KL. And we are given LM is congruent to JK. So the first thing we need to do is we need to label on our shape what's been given to us. So I'm going to show you how we do that. I know that JM, first let's figure out where JM is. Where is JM?
This one?
What?
Vertical three.
Yeah, it's right here. It's the far left side from J to M. So we know that JM is congruent to KL. Where's KL?
On the other side.
All right, right on the other side here. Okay. So to show that these are congruent to each other, we're just going to put a tick mark on both of them. The same number of tick marks. So I'm going to put one here and one here. That tells me that they are the same. We're going to do the same thing for the other ones we were given. Where is LM?
At the bottom.
At the bottom. Good. JK.
At the top.
At the top. Beautiful. So they tell us that these are congruent. So we already used one tick mark to show that these were congruent. Now we're just going to use one more. We'll do two tick marks. Those are congruent. Okay. So we're given those two pieces of information. Is there anything else that we could say is congruent? Any other sides?
JL.
JL. I know JL. And we could call the other one JL as well. Or we could call it LJ if we want it to be different. But JL is congruent to JL. because it's a shared side. They're the same length. So both of these triangles are sharing JL. So I'm going to write JL is congruent to JL. And I'm going to mark that on my picture. With how many tick marks do I need now?
3.
3. Good. We've already used 1 and 2. So now we need 1, 2, 3. 3 tick marks. So, as we see here in this picture, we've got 3 corresponding sides that are congruent. Here, we have 3 corresponding sides that are congruent. So, what we would say about these 2 triangles is, first of all, we would need to name them properly and make sure that we put them in the correct order. So we want to make sure that our angles are touching the right spots here. And I'll explain kind of what I mean by that. So when I name a triangle, I name it by putting the 3 letters that are the 3 vertices or the 3 points of the triangle. So I'm going to start from, let's start with J for this triangle here. I'm talking about the one shaded in purple. We're going to call this JKL. So we just draw a triangle and say JKL is congruent to. Now we need to name this triangle the same way that we name JKL. So in JKL, we started with the point that goes from here to here, crossing the side that has 2 tick marks first, then 1 tick mark, then 3. So we need to make sure that we name the second one in the same order. Now, does that make sense what I just said about the order that we're going to need to write the letters here?
Yeah.
Okay, so how would we name our second triangle? Say it one more time.
JML.
JML. Okay, so in the first one, we'll start with J and then with L. So that seems like a really good idea. But we want to make sure that we're naming it in the order that our sides are lining up. So let me think of a way to explain this better. So from J to K, we have the 2 tick marks. From K to L, we have the 1 tick mark. And then from L to J, we have 3 tick marks. So we need our letters to go in the same order when we name the second triangle. So we're going to kind of rotate it to get it to face the same way in our minds. So from J to K, we've got 2. We kept going on this one, we could go from L to M. Does that make sense to do L to M? Or does that feel a little confusing still?
I have a question.
Yes.
So is it just because we started the top one like that? Like,
Yeah.
that's why we have to do, so if we did the top one like L, K, J, we would have to do J and L. So like you go in a circle, kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, you do. It's like you're rotating around and making sure. That's actually a good way to think of it. We're counting this one, JKL, clockwise. So we need to make sure that we're continuing the same direction when we name the other one. I'm actually glad you said that. That makes way more sense,
That's
I
not
feel
only,
like.
that's how it was like coming across, that's why I wanted to make
Right.
sure.
So since this one is JKL, this other one needs to be named LMJ. That makes more sense to me. Does that make more sense to you guys? Okay, cool. LMJ. So we have our congruent statement, and we say that they are congruent because of side, side, side. We found out that that third side was congruent. And guys, this will probably be the hardest thing we do in geometry. So if this is not making you freak out, then you're in excellent shape. If it is, you're not in bad shape. This is one of the tougher things, I think, just because it's a lot of reasoning. A lot of people struggle with this. Okay, let's do something similar to this. Now I'm gonna give you, let's see. Here's a different one. This time I'm gonna start with a line going straight up and down. And then I'm gonna actually turn this up down so I can see it better. I'm gonna do 2-inch line here. And then I'm gonna connect my two triangles like this. Oh, sorry. We're gonna name this P, Q, R. I'm gonna give you that PQ is congruent to PS. So giving you that QR is congruent to SR. So the first thing we should do is we need to mark where these are congruent on our picture. So let's see. How would I mark that PQ is congruent to PS?
Is there the same length?
They're the same length, absolutely, and I'm giving you the same length. How can I show that they're the same length?
The congruent on like.
Yeah, the little lines, the little tick marks. So PQ is the one that goes from P to Q. So since it's my first one, I'm gonna put a 1 tick mark. PS, the corresponding side over here. Perfect. Okay. How about the next set of congruent sides?
QR and SR?
Yes. So how would I mark these as congruent, QR and SR?
With two.
Yes,
Lines.
2 of the lines, 2 tick marks. So is there any other sides that I know are congruent just by looking at them?
Will it be PR?
Yes, PR. is gonna be congruent to PR because they're connected to each other. Bless you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Woo.
So we're gonna write PR is congruent to PR. And how many tick marks am I putting on that middle line? 3. 1, 2, 3.
I be feeling like I kind of get the stuff, but then once I have it in front of me by myself, and you're not talking,
I get it. I know it. I know it. But I think, this is also new. It's new. And we're gonna get better and better and feel more confident as we go. So, how do we want to name our first triangle? Since we haven't named one yet, we can do it however we want.
SPR.
SPR. Let's do it. SPR. Now, this one's going to be a little different. This one's not going to be as much of that clockwise going around and just following the letters. Now we want to make sure that we're going kind of in the same, what's it called? We want to make sure